Hello and welcome to English Hub. Today we are here with a beautiful composition of a renowned American poet Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. A poem that reflects on life, not with complex words but with clear and relatable images. The poem is often asked in MP TET, UGC NET, and several other competitive exams. So let us look at to the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Lee Frost. The poem was published in the year 1916. It has 4 quinton, means 5-line stanza, with the rhyming scheme of ABAAB and follows iambic tetrameter. The tone of the poem is reflective, slightly ironic. Now let us look at to the stanza by stanza explanation. So our first stanza is: two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. So this is the first stanza. Now let us look at to the explanation. Here the poet comes across a fork in the road during autumn. As yellow wood over here symbolizes that it's a autumn season. And the poet is standing in the middle of a road where the road is being diverged. He regrets that he can't take both the paths. He cannot take both the path. He is confused. It is really hard for him to take the decision to select the path. So he examines one road deeply, but it eventually disappears into the wood. But as far as he looked, the road is disappearing in the woods. In this stanza, the paths are also metaphor for a life decision, where he regrets that he cannot take both the paths. This shows that there is a metaphor for a life decision, where only one option can be chosen. A person cannot select double option or cannot take one action and then he can regret and come back to the same position and do the another one. So this is what the poet is over here telling us. And then the path disappears into the wood represents the uncertainty in the future consequences, that what will happen after taking one decision or after choosing one path. The future is not certain, it's uncertain, and there can be different consequences after taking that decision. Now here is the second stanza. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, but it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. Now let us look at to the explanation. Here the poet chooses the second road, and he is thinking it looks slightly less used, but admits that both the paths were actually quite similar in wear. Both the paths were actually looking similar to him. This shows that the choices in life often seems unique but are actually equally uncertain. They are actually equally uncertain. We don't know about both the choices what will happen in the future. And the line just as fair indicates that both the options were equally valid. Both the paths were equally valid for walking for the poet. He could have chosen any one and moved on. And so does in our life when the choices comes, both the choices are good, but the uncertainty of both are uncertain. Here is the third stanza. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no steps that trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Now, here the poet tells that on that particular morning, both the roads were fresh. Both the roads were looking clean, fresh, covered with untouched leaves. As it's a forest, so the leaves will be there and they were untouched. And the poet plans to revisit the first road someday. But he also tells that the life journey rarely allows us to return to earlier crossroad. Crossroad over here is the choice of what you are selecting, what you are taking in your life. So rarely you get a chance to return back to that earlier choice. And this stanza emphasizes irreversibility of choices. Here it shows the irreversibility of the choices in the life, that the choices cannot be reversed. You cannot go back in the time and select the one which you have not taken. So in the stanza, the poet is looking at both the paths. Both the roads were fresh, covered with untouched leaves, looking alike to him, but he plans to revisit the first road. He selects the second one, that means, and he also tells that life journey rarely gives us the chance to return back to the earlier choice. Here we are with the last stanza. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. In this stanza, the speaker imagines himself in the future and reflects on the choices that he has taken. The sigh could be simply a regret or satisfaction of selecting the path that he has chosen, The famous line of the poem, I took the one less travelled by, suggests that there is pride in choosing a unique path, that you can select that unique path. But in the earlier stanza, he also revealed both the roads were actually similar, suggesting this statement might be self-justifying or ironic. The poem ends with a note of mystery. What difference did it make? Was it good or bad? So this was the whole poem, The Road Not Taken, about the choices, about making choices in life. Whatever the choice you are making, you have to go with that choice. You cannot regret. You cannot be in a regret mood. You have to move with the choice, whatever you have taken in the life, because you cannot go back and choose the second one. Now let us look at the key themes. The themes of this poem, very common, that the choices and consequences. Whatever the decision we are taking, that will affect the course of life, that will be there in the whole life. You have to face that. So the decision should be taken wisely. Next theme which we can see is individualism and conformity. The decision is to be taken by the individual, as the individual itself has to face the consequences or the things that will be there coming in your life. Next theme which we can see in this poem is irrevocability of decision. Irrevocability comes from irrevocable. Irrevocable means unreversible. The decision that we are taking, life will rarely allows us to change that. It will rarely allows a second chance in front of us. It will rarely gives us a second chance. So the decisions are irrevocable. They are unreversible. Another thing that we see is ambiguity and irony. The poet contradicts himself, reflecting how memory can distort truth. In the last stanza, he clearly tells that the decision is irony. Whatever the future is, it's irony. He doesn't know. The future is undetermined. Ambiguity means uncertainty. There is uncertainty of everything. Unclarity. The future is unclear. What will happen? But somewhere it is dependent on to the choice that you are taking. Now let us look at some of the literary devices which are there in the poem. First of all, we can see symbolism. The road themselves become symbols of life choices. The road here are the symbols of the life choices that we are taking. With the roads less traveled symbolizes a less common or a unconventional path, a path which has not been taken by anyone. Here we have personification. The speaker attributes human-like qualities to the road, such as the road grassy and unwanted wear, adding a sense of character to the object. Personification is basically when you are giving some human-like qualities to a non-living things or anything apart from the human. Apart from this, we can see enjambment. Enjambment is basically the continuation of a sentence or a phrase from one line of the poem to the next one without any kind of a pause, without any kind of a punctuation mark, without any full stop, comma, hyphen, slash, anything. So here in many of the stanza, in almost all the stanza, we can see that one or the two line are there which are being continued to the next one. We can also see alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of the several word within the line or the phrase. In the same line, the sound should be repeated, but in the beginning of the word. It should be in the beginning of the word. For example, if we just look at to the second stanza and third line of the second stanza, because it was grassy and unwanted wear. So here we can see the sound of W which is coming out. And similarly in different lines, here they are. In the poem we can also see repetition. The repetition is there in the last stanza, second line, somewhere ages and ages hence. So ages and ages here is repeated. The age word is being repeated, and therefore we can observe repetition in this stanza. If we just look at to the first stanza, in the second, third and the fourth line, we can see the use of anaphora. Word and is being repeated in all the three lines, at the beginning of all the three lines. So these were some of the important literary devices which are there in the poem. Here are few MCQs. Just pause the video, solve them and resume the video and check your answers. Good luck. Now here are some literary device based questions. Just pause, solve and check your answers. Here are few more questions. Good luck.